Pie food and split into 2 Sheldons.
On the other hand, I think Sheldon might be the larval form of his species, and someday he'll spin a cocoon and emerge 2 months later with moth wings and an exoskeleton.
Okay, well, thanks for the nightmares.
What are you doing?
I have a craving for white asparagus that apparently is destined to go unsatisfied.
Excuse me. What the hell is wrong with you?
I'm helping you with Stephanie.
By making constipated moose sounds?
When I fail to open this jar and you succeed, it will establish you as the alpha male. You see, when a female witnesses an exhibition of physical domination, she produces the hormone oxytocin. If the 2 of you then engage in intercourse, this will create the biochemical reaction in the brain, which lay people naively interpret as falling in love.
Huh. Would it work if I just punched you in the face?
Yes, actually it would, but let's see how the lid goes. I'm not strong enough, Leonard. You'll have to do it.
God's sakes.
Go ahead, it's pre-loosened.
You want some help with that?
No. I got it.
Oh, yeah, he's got it. And that's not surprising. This is something I long ago came to peace with in my role as the beta male. Open it.
Ow.
Oh, my God.
Ow.
Are you okay?
No, I'm bleeding.
Get like a gladiator.
Oh, honey, you're gonna need stitches.
Stitches? With a needle?
Well, yeah, I mean, just a few.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hang on a sec.
FYI, I was defrosting a steak in there. This is very pleasant.
I'm glad you're enjoying yourself.
And you said there'd never be enough pasta for the 3 of us.
I stand corrected.
You know, Italian housewives have a rule of thumb. A handful of dry pasta, about 1 inch in diameter, is sufficient for each person, as it doubles in volume when cooked.
That's very interesting.
Thank you.
She doesn't mean it. She's just being nice.
Well, Stephanie, since Leonard seems to be dropping the conversational ball, I guess I'll just have to pick it up. Have you ever witnessed a violent crime?
No.
Good. What's your favorite fruit?
Strawberries.
Technically not a fruit, but all right. Where did you do your medical internship?
Lawrence Memorial in Galveston, Texas.
Really? That's where I was born. I spent so much of my childhood at that hospital. When I was 12, I got to ride there in a helicopter.
What happened?
Radiation burns. A little mishap while I was building my own CAT scanner.
I'm sorry. You tried to build your own CAT scanner.
No, I didn't try. I succeeded. In fact, I was briefly able to see the inside of my sister's guinea pig, Snowball, before he caught fire. It led to an interesting expression in our house. Not a snowball's chance in a CAT scanner.
Sheldon?
Excuse me. When I come back, just for fun, the subject will be alternative history. Specifically, how would the Civil War have gone differently if Lincoln had been a robot sent from the future? Look at that. There's even pasta left over.
Do you understand that this was supposed to be a date?
I do. Do you? Because frankly, you've been in a foul mood since I sat down.
Okay, here's my question. Why did you sit down?
To help. Look, if you fail at this relationship, and history suggests you will, then we risk losing the medical officer that our landing party has always needed.
What landing party?
You're Kirk. I'm Spock. Wallowitz is Scotty. Kutherpolly is the guy who always gets killed. And now we've got McCoy.
Want to get a little crazy?
What are you thinking?
Let's slide over to Sheldon's spot and make out.
You are a dirty girl.
Oh, God, how did he know?
Hello?
Hi, Howard.
Am I interrupting?
A little bit, yeah.
Guess I should have called.
Yeah, maybe.
Tonight's the night I usually go line dancing with Raj at the Palomino.
Uh-huh.
But he's working with Sheldon.
Yes, we know.
Want me to leave?
You know, whatever.
Okay, I guess I can hang for a little while.
I hope you're hungry, Bernadette. We're going to a terrific restaurant.
Oh yeah, I'm starved. When you spend all day in a biolab watching flesh-eating bacteria skeletonize small rodents, it really works up an appetite.
Flesh-eating bacteria, and yet I still want to kiss this woman. What does that tell you?
That you'd be willing to die a horrible death on the off chance you'd get to second base?
We're way past second base. Right, Howard?
Well, we kind of disagree about what the bases are.
How's your work going, Penny? Any acting jobs?
Well, the last big thing I did was this production of Diary of Anne Frank above a bowling alley. But I think things might be turning around pretty soon.
Great. How come?
Promise you won't make fun of me?
Of course. I would never make fun of you.
Okay, well, I went to this psychic who told me that if I cut my hair, I'm gonna get a national commercial.
Seriously? You're getting career advice from a psychic?
Good job not making fun of her.
She's not one of those phonies, okay? She wrote a book and has her own website.
Oh, gee, why didn't you say so? They don't just let anyone have a website.
Why are you being such a jerk?
You're surprised? Your psychic didn't tell you I was going to be a jerk?
Bite me.
Come on, Penny.
Why don't you kids go ahead and chat? We're gonna make out back here.
I'm sliding into third. So, what should we talk about?
Well, we could always learn more about why people who believe in psychics are idiots, Leonard.
Oh, we don't need to talk about that anymore. Leonard covered it pretty well in the car.
I'm sorry, but facts are facts.
Right, and if you can't understand it, it's not a fact.
No, if it's not a fact, it's not a fact.
Oh, got it. Thank you for educating me.
You're welcome. How's your fish?
Amazing. Would you like to try some?
Yeah, sure.
Well, the fact is you can't.
Come on, Howard, Bernadette, you're both scientists. Help me out here.
What do you think? Want to jump right in the middle of another couple's argument?
No, thank you.
Sorry.
Maybe we should just stop talking about this.
Maybe some of us should stop talking altogether.
How's everything tonight?
Really uncomfortable?
Hi, sorry I'm late. I was at the gym. Spin class worked up quite a sweat.
Joy, this is Leonard. Leonard, this is Joy.
Hi.
Hi. You don't look like a genius. Go ahead, say something smart. Time's up. Just kidding. First thing you need to know about me, I'm hilarious.
Yeah. So Bernadette tells me she knows you from self-defense classes?
Yeah, Israeli Krav Maga, lots of fun. Basically, 100 different ways to rip a guy's nuts off.
Wow, wouldn't think there'd be that many.
Number 42.
Whoa!
Isn't she a pimp?
This lobster's good on the way down and the way up.
Should be. It's $30 a pound.
Hey, this is a date, right?
Yep, it is.
73!
Oh!
Excuse me, I have to go to the little girl's room and take a wicked whiz.
I'll go with you.
Fair warning, I had the asparagus. My pee is going to stink up the place.
Hi, Howard. Hi, Sheldon.
Hello. Why are you holding hands? I forbid you to hold hands.
Rajesh, you know Leonard and I spent the night together.
Yeah, but you were just sleeping because I forbade you to have sex.
The word is forbade.
You sure? That doesn't sound right.
Listen, Rajesh, Leonard and I have decided to see each other again. And you don't get to tell me who I can and can't have a relationship with.
Actually, he can. The Hindu code of Manu is very clear in these matters. If a woman's father is not around, the duty of controlling her base desires falls to the closest male member of her family, in this case, Raj. The code also states that if she disobeys, she will be reborn in the womb of a jackal and tormented by diseases. If true, that seems like an awfully large gamble, given that the prize is Leonard.
There it is, Priya. We're Indian. We believe this stuff.
I think it also says that if you eat beef, you need to live with cows for 3 months and drink their urine.
Some of it makes sense. Some of it's crazy. My point is...
So this is a pretty unusual situation wherein it seems we've actually been given an official answer to a pretty long-standing question that we've had ever since the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. So long-standing, in fact, that I have already made a video on this topic quite some time ago, and it seems like answers to that particular question were always very in demand, as to this day that's still one of the most popular videos on my channel. And that question is, of course, what's the deal with Kenpachi Zoraki's previous vice captain Yachiru Kusajishi? Based on the events of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, is she in fact his Zanpakuto toe spirit, or is she something totally separate? And it does seem like we now finally have an answer. Before we begin, I just want to thank the members of my community who brought this to light to me, who made me aware of this. I really appreciate it. However, I also want to give a shout out to where I first heard about this question being answered, which was on an excellent video by a fellow Bleach YouTuber who goes by the name of Simo Urahara. Now, Simo Urahara is a friend of mine. He does amazing work over there on his channel, and like I said, this is where I actually first heard about this. So I'm going to leave the link to his video in the description. Make sure to go and check it out and go and support him over there. If you love Bleach, you'll undoubtedly love what he does there. He does really great work. And of course, before we begin, if you haven't subscribed here yet, make sure to do that now. You're in the perfect place for Bleach content like this every single week. Also, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, because it really does help get the video out to more Bleach fans just like yourselves. And I'd really appreciate that exposure and that push. And of course, if you want to help support the channel even more, we do have a Patreon now where you can support me for as little as $1 a month, and you can get early access to videos. And of course, as always, just a massive thank you goes out to everyone who's supporting me over there already. I really appreciate it. So there's this very exclusive club called Club Outside, where Kubo occasionally posts exclusive unique artworks, and also does a question and answer with fans who can kind of send in anything for him to answer, and if he does or not is up to him, I think. And someone asked him about Yachiru and Kenpachi's actual relationship, the relationship she has to Nozarashi, which I think is a pretty good question to ask, because clearly people wanted to know, and it does seem like Kubo has actually given us an answer. Now, like I said, I've already done a video on this topic, and in that video I said that I very much subscribed to the theory that she was Nozarashi through and through. She was just his Zanpakuto toe spirit, and that was basically all there was to it. And it turns out that I was kind of half right, but also kind of wrong as well. What's interesting about this scenario, however, is that it seems like most theories were wrong, but also everybody kind of wins. Another theory people had was, which I also brought up in that video, was that Kenpachi and Yachiru was a Stark and Lilinet situation where they had to separate because they had so much power, and it created a second being, essentially. I dismissed that in my video to my detriment, because apparently that's also kind of right, but also kind of wrong. And that's what I mean by everybody winning here. Everyone's theories have kind of coalesced to create the truth, essentially, which is really neat. So, to break it down as simply as possible, Kubo says in his answer to this person, basically, the true spirit of Nozarashi, Kenpachi's Zanpakuto, is actually an adult woman. Yachiru, or the being that would become Yachiru, the little pink-haired girl, is somehow separated from this original being a long time ago and materializes in the soul world. So far, that sounds about right to me. That's where the Stark and Lilinet comparisons come in. It seems like Nozarashi, for whatever reason, split and sent this, and somehow the little girl version of Nozarashi went into the spirit world and would have eventually come face to face with Zaraki himself. I have a couple of thoughts on this. We've never really heard of anything like this before. As I mentioned in my previous video on this topic, generally speaking, in the canon manga, the only time a Zanpakuto spirit externalizes in the real world is when a Shinigami is trying to learn Bankai and they are forcing them to submit. But it has happened before. Outside of a situation like this, Zabimaru, for instance, appears to Renji in the Soul Society arc 2 because he wants to keep fighting Ichigo, essentially. He isn't called out or anything, he just appears. And also, we know Katen Kyokotsu appears to Kyoraku when he uses Bankai. In both of these scenarios, though, I have to wonder if anyone but the Shinigami in question can actually see this being. We know that Lil Baro cannot see Katen Kyokotsu when Kyoraku is in Bankai. He's questioning who Kyoraku is talking to. And personally, I'm kind of wondering if anyone else can actually see Zabimaru or not. I think there's a scene when Renji arrives to train with Zabimaru to learn Bankai that people can see it, but again, he's trying to learn Bankai. So it's hard to know exactly what's going on here. Yachiru does seem to be still a very unique case, being real enough to actually get a position as a vice captain where no one really thinks there's anything strange about her or different about her, and she integrates with the 11th Division absolutely fine. So this is still completely uncharted territory for characters as far as I'm concerned. But the idea of there being an adult woman and a young Yachiru both essentially being Nozarashi actually does make a lot of sense to me and answers a couple of questions I had in that previous video. One of my main points of contention about the argument of her being his Zanpakuto spirit was when he finally unlocks his Zanpakuto, essentially in Muken after training with Unohana. Why doesn't Kenpachi recognize the voice that calls out to him? You would think if it were Yachiru, he would know it immediately. The idea that it is instead this adult woman talking to him makes considerably more sense, and it also explains why Yachiru herself doesn't vanish until much later on. Kenpachi is currently only communing with the original Nozarashi herself. In his answer, Kubo says that probably the easiest way to visualize this relationship is to liken it to Zangetsu and Tensa Zangetsu, what we formerly believed to be essentially the representations of Ichigo's Shikai and Bankai, which is exactly what I think is happening here, and that's why I think Kubo chose that comparison to make it easiest to visualize. It makes total sense to me that this supposed adult version, this adult woman, Nozarashi, would be Kenpachi's Shikai, while the being we know as Yachiru would be his Bankai. And that's actually, again, something I brought up in the previous video, and that makes a ton of sense to me, because Yachiru appears when Kenpachi needs her the most against Gerard Valkyrie, and quite literally hands him the power of Bankai. So it makes sense to me that she would represent that side of his Zanpakuto, again much like Tensa Zangetsu was originally believed to be, the younger, newer side, which is why she is a young being. Honestly, so far so good as far as I'm concerned. This is so far making a lot of sense, except Kubo goes one step further and things start to get a bit confusing again, in my opinion. In his answer to this person's question, I think Kubo is trying to also answer the fact that Yachiru has access seemingly to a Zanpakuto of her own, Sanpo Kenju, which is again something we brought up in the previous video. Kubo says that when the two of them met in Rukongai and Zaraki named her Yachiru, that also gave her Shinigami powers of her own. And that is just a whole can of worms, in my opinion. Things are getting really weird now. Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but let's try and break it down. So we know, thanks to Ichibei Hyosobei, that the power of all things resides in the name. And we know that Ichibei is the one who knows all names, who has bestowed everything in Soul Society's history with its name. So to give this little girl the name Yachiru and imbue her with Shinigami powers, while it's kind of weird, it also does sort of make sense. However, what I don't understand is, can anyone do this, or is it just because Kenpachi is massively powerful? That's kind of weird to me, because I thought it was supposed to be Ichibei's special thing. I think there's potentially a ton to unpack here, and I don't want to get too convoluted. But I also wonder if the name of the person has an impact on what's happening here, because obviously Kenpachi knows Yachiru to be Yachiru Unohana, this bloodthirsty master of 8,000 styles, this original criminal. And I wonder if a part of that nature, the nature of the person whose name Kenpachi is bestowing, then feeds into this little girl, perhaps. Or maybe not. Maybe it's got nothing to do with that. That's what I mean by it being quite confusing. And also, I didn't even know Shinigami could do this. We know that when a Shinigami is presented with an asauchi, an empty blade essentially, that they go on to imprint their soul upon it. And that is how it becomes a Zanpakuto essentially, with a Shikai. Because the Shikai is supposed to represent the literal embodiment of that Shinigami's soul. So, I guess a couple of questions we need to ask. I'm guessing Kenpachi obviously does not know the name of his Zanpakuto even now. It's not like it's something he knew and then forgot. He has never spoken to this sword. We know that he picks this blade up off a corpse, and I can only assume it is totally empty at this point, because that's not really how Zanpakuto work. You know, Ichigo... I don't think that Ichigo could kill Renji and then use Zabimaru, because it's not his soul. It would go back to being an empty katana. So Kenpachi has killed someone, and like a vulture, like Oetsu says, he picks up this blade and takes it for his own. And then you have to assume that he goes through many years just not talking to this sword at all. So here's what I'm wondering, and what actually would make a lot of sense to me, is that as Kenpachi is getting older, he clearly has a ton of Reiatsu, and this Zanpakuto wants to get to know him. However, he is completely deaf to the cries of Nozarashi. This adult woman is like, he's like, talk to me, and he's just not doing it. So, I could personally totally envision Nozarashi like just tearing out some of her own power and materializing it in the spirit world so that it actually talks to Kenpachi. That's what I'm assuming. That's why I think Yachiru finds Zaraki, why she touches the blade. Kenpachi then gives her the name Yachiru, which apparently turns her into a Shinigami. That's the part that I think is really weird. I guess if you really simplify it, because Unohana is a Shinigami, maybe giving Yachiru her name gives her a Shinigami powers. That's maybe it. And maybe that's why Sanpo Kenju is a really weird Shikai, at least according to Isane. You can see why we're going in a lot of circles here, why it's really weird despite actually being given what seems to be a concrete answer. The question posed on Club Outside actually mentions this idea of, we've seen in the past many Zanpakuto, or some Zanpakuto, that don't perform to their maximum power if they are given some kind of bastardized or false version of their name. So, you know, Fuji Kujaku and Ruriro Kujaku is the most obvious example, but also Renji with Hihio Zabimaru and Soo Zabimaru. So is that going on here as well? Kenpachi has kind of named his Zanpakuto unwittingly Yachiru, but it's actually Nozarashi? I don't really know. That's really throwing me. And honestly, if you guys have any insight whatsoever into this whole situation about Kenpachi giving her Shinigami powers, any opinions, anything like that, please leave them in the comments below. Let's get a discussion going, because I would love to hear what you have to say. My final question about this as well, and I think this is probably pretty self-explanatory, does Nozarashi look just like an older version of Yachiru? I'm guessing she probably does, probably still has the pink hair, but she's like a mature woman, much in the same way as Zangetsu and Tensa Zangetsu worked. The Zangetsu example is a weird one, because we know now that that wasn't like true, that wasn't Ichigo's Shinigami powers, but it's still the best comparison we have, which is why I think Kubo chose to use that one. And that's basically it for my video on this topic. Let's just very quickly summarize what we kind of know for sure. Nozarashi's Zanpakuto spirit is actually an adult woman. That must be the voice that Kenpachi actually hears in Muken. However, we've only got to this stage because Nozarashi split itself at some point and sent out this little girl into the spirit world, who Kenpachi then named Yachiru, and doing so somehow gave her Shinigami powers, perhaps something to do with Ichibei. or it's something to do with the idea of a Shinigami imprinting themselves on an empty blade. That bit is speculation, but at the very least we do now have a slightly better idea of this, and I'm really appreciative of that. And I would love it if Kubo was able to answer even more questions like this. But for now, I'm really happy that this does make a little more sense. It makes a ton of sense to me to imagine the adult woman who's probably an adult version of Yachiru as the Shikai, and little girl Yachiru that we know so well as the Bankai. That makes the whole thing make more sense to me in my mind. It's really only this notion of bestowing upon her Shinigami powers that I find a little bit weird, but as I said before, all power is in names, so maybe it does make sense. I don't really know. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that bit in particular, but as I said, it's nice to finally have some kind of an answer. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Let me know, like I said, in the comments what you think really is going on in regards to Kenpachi bestowing Shinigami powers upon little girl Yachiru, who's technically his Zanpakuto toe spirit. But there is also a Stark and Lynette thing going on. Like I said before, thank you to everyone who let me know about this. I really appreciate it. It was a fun thing to discuss, even though I'm still not completely satisfied with the answer we have. At least some of it now makes a lot more sense. And make sure to go and check out Simo Urahara's video as well. The link is in the description. Alright guys, but until next time, I'll catch you later. I'll see you then. So this is a pretty unusual situation wherein it seems we've actually been given an official answer to a pretty long-standing question that we've had ever since the 1000-Year Blood War arc. So long-standing, in fact, that I have already made a video on this.
Welcome to more Sidemen category! Team 1.
Yes.
Versus Team A.
Eh?
Yes.
No, we're Bumbleclaw.
No, we're Gradient.
Team Bumbleclaw Gradient.
Bumbleclaw Gradient. Team. Yeah, the team.
Yeah, can we start them on -1?
Huh?
Yeah, nice. Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. Bad name.
Yeah.
Bad name.
You can always redeem yourself.
It's a pretty good name.
You can redeem yourself if you come up with another name.
Look at them begging now as well, trying to make it.
We're Bumbleclaw Gradient.
Don't say our name too much. We might lose him.
No, you can say your name. You should be proud of your name.
Bumbleclaw Gradient.
Well, Blackbeard.
So what's your involvement in this, please?
I have a beard as well.
Is it black? Yeah, it's black dark.
Can we start the game, sir?
All right, we'll put them back to 0.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Team.
So the way this works is you're going to have 30 seconds to name however many things you choose to say of the category.
Yeah.
We've played this game.
Oh, and we're doing individual with the team.
Individual for this round. So I'm going to need you to nominate someone from your team.
I volunteer.
KSI.
I'll give you a rough category.
Oh, let's get rough.
Okay.
Rough. A direction.
Plumbing.
I take myself off.
No.
I think you're a handy man.
Yeah, you're
about
Essex.
toilets and that. Plumbing? No?
Bear in mind, these are very, very
I have to say rough category.
Look, think about it, right? Okay, if there's a toilet that's broken, who's going to be able to fix it out of us three?
Well, how is that the game?
What the fuck?
I think you have to fix it.
I'm happy to go with this one, yeah.
Plumbing.
Yeah?
We're sending Bog.
That's not the category, that's the parent.
There. Come on.
We're sending you a form.
Yeah, we'll do
Okay,
it.
Bog
We'll
as
do
a
it.
blunt.
Let's do it.
So, in 30 seconds, how many things that you can't flush down the toilet can you name?
Wait, what?
I can name 10. You can do more than that. I can name 11. Yeah.
I can name 12.
Easy. You got that. Yeah, you can.
You can do more.
I can name 13.
Easy.
I can name 14.
See, I think Harry can do that. So this is
So,
like the
yeah.
crush point. I think you could do it. I think you could do it. One more and you might have him.
No, because he's going to call me up next one.
Nah, he won't call you.
But maybe I won't. Every 2 seconds, you just have to name something big. You can do it.
Yeah.
You can't.
All right.
Come on.
It should be anything. You can do it.
Are you going to say 15?
No.
Okay.
can't do it.
Challenge. Okay, all right.
What?
14.
14. Could you please,
In the hopes that he
grab
gets
that?
a little bit stumbled. You do need to.
I think you
need to hit that at the end.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
A table, a chair, a dartboard, a lamp, a big fleet plant, a camera, a human being, a car, a boat, a train, a live animal. Let's go with. Oh, actually no.
I'm not going to accept
Yeah,
that.
that's fair enough. Let's go with.
I wouldn't accept camera either.
Bricks. A 1 litre bottle of Coke. I would query the camera. I would query the camera. That was such a bad. I should have named massive thing. That's what I thought he was going to do.
Yeah.
You started doing it. I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
A TV,
Aeroplane.
Yeah. I got stuck.
No. That's
Oh,
all
nice. I got
Fair
fucked
play,
when I
fair
said
play.
live animal. I got stuck crazy. I was like, you can't.
I was
fuck like a
betting
fish
on-
down
yeah,
there.
that's what I was thinking.
I was betting on the fact that he does that often.
Technicality.
Yeah.
But
Which means
could've-
you get the point.
You could literally done elephant,
I know.
rhino.
I was going to go down there, like, house, car, lorry, aeroplane.
Yeah, I think it's smart just to go around the room.
As you were doing it. I just bottled it. That was a big bottle. I'm sorry, boys.
Well,
You
okay.
got that camera. That camera can't lose.
Yeah.
A little when you could.
Okay. 1-0.
Well played, Ethan.
Nice.
Shit.
Okay.
Tap your call.
The next parent topic is mouths.
I volunteer as tribute.
He knows what that mouth did.
Yeah. Oh, I
He
do.
knows what that
Throw
mouth
go.
did.
This is
Yeah.
me.
Throw go, yeah?
Me, man.
Go on,
Things
Randy.
you
You
can
got
put in
this.
your
Yeah.
Randy, VJJ, all right.
How active is your mouth?
In 30 seconds, how many things can you name that you can give fellatio to?
What? Ooh.
That means
Okay. This is
it off.
a very sussy
sorry,
episode.
2. He said 2.
I don't get it. Like, a live thing.
The things you
Anything.
can give fellatio
Anything
to.
that you can suck.
Fucking yeah. Bro, 5.
6.
Okay. 6 is sucks.
I trust in JJ.
That was the most sexual
6 I've ever heard in my life. 6.
7.
8.
Get him to 10 and then they call him out, I think. Or maybe get to like 11 or something, I think.
15.
Just let him play.
Yeah,
Let him play.
fun.
I just want to see this. I want to see this.
You don't do that?
I thought I had it.
3, 2, 1, go.
Ice dolly, broom pole, golf club, finger, toe, cock, fucking hell, pipe, cigarette, cigar, table leg, broomstick. Said that. Okay. Dog. Tripod leg, chair leg, fucking pole.
No, yeah, no.
A fence, like a shop fence, you know.
Time! If we accepted fence, you were on 14.
What?
I think
Why did he say dog in that?
Why you say dog, bro?
Saying dog should be a
I ain't
disqualification.
gonna lie, as soon as he said dog, I'd have just gone giraffe.
Yeah.
I just didn't
You've already you know when you hesitate.
No, it's game over.
It is actually, unless you get into flow state.
I was really hard. Because I thought he was going to
That
go
was
for
mental,
everything.
going to 15.
But you know, if he
Dog
goes
is
16,
crazy,
I'm
by the way.
fucking out.
Jesus.
Peter
We
needs
went
to.
from like golf club, like inanimate things, that dog. Nah, I was panicking. I need to get back on the.
Oh, there's too much pressure.
Dog.
All right, fuck. Who's left?
Me and Vic.
Vic versus
I feel like
Toby.
we have to play this
Don't
stuff.
need to do the category.
No, we
It is
don't.
just how many people you wouldn't introduce to your parents can you name in 30 seconds? How many?
5.
How many?
6. 7. 8. 9.
Gonna need an answer. Gonna need an answer. 3, 2, 1.
10. Bullshit.
Here you go.
Come on, bro.
Shit. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, Mia Malkova, Mia Khalifa, Tony Blair, Rishi Sunak, David Cameron.
Yeah, you've smashed it.
That is 10, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Name 10 people.
Hold on.
Dictators, politicians.
He doesn't want to introduce them to his parents.
No, my parents are definitely
Anyone.
all of the
You can
above.
say anyone.
I
wouldn't
Well, that's
introduce
fine.
politicians to
Yeah,
my
sure.
parents.
Argue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It works.
You should have done more.
I think they work.
Yeah, they work.
Yeah.
Not even me.
Politician.
Over.
No, I don't want to. How awkward is that? Hey, parents.
Yeah,
this is.
We move on to round 2.
Okay.
Each of these is worth 2 points.
Yay!
It's currently 3-0.
I got my heart going now. I ran out of dictators. My plan was 10
could, mate.
dictators.
You
And I didn't get there.
The porn stars come in clutch.
Yeah, they did. They helped me out when I needed.
They got you past the hard bit. Rishi Sunak. I would happily introduce you to my parents. Yeah.
I would not introduce my parents to Rishi Sunak.
Exactly. Why would you?
Like
I
what?
would if I'm dating him. I clearly like him. You know. Are you dating Rishi Sunak?
Just so you know, no one said dating.
All right. You dating Rishi Sunak? Even better than like
You're
even Hitler.
sucking
Like
off a
hang on,
dog
this is
and
Hitler.
now
I can
you're
do that.
dating
Casually
Rishi
dating
Sunak.
Mussolini.
You can, but you wouldn't. If I'm not dating Hitler, I could introduce him to my parents. Like, hey, this is Hitler. You know. There's nothing bad there.
What there is, but something bad.
Well, I mean, first of all, why do you know Hitler?
I don't, but if I did, and like my mum was there, I'm like, Mum, Hitler, Mum.
Right.
There's no common courtesy.
I'd be like, I don't know this guy.
Yeah.
I've never seen this guy in my life.
You do know him. You'd be lying then.
That's fine. I
Next
think
one,
that's
let's go.
better. I think that's.
Sure.
Next round. The grand topic is incarceration.
I thought you were good at this.